April 3, 2026. 5 weeks into the intense bombing campaign over Iran known as Operation Epic Fury, an American F-15E Strike Eagle, callsign Dude 44, took a direct hit to the engine from an Iranian shoulder-fired missile. Both the pilot and the weapons systems officer ejected, drifting down miles apart and deep into hostile territory. Within minutes, the U.S. military activated an aggressive combat search and rescue operation. The first phase required overwhelming firepower. A-10 Warthogs flew low-altitude Sandy missions, placing themselves directly between the downed pilot and advancing Iranian troops, firing suppressive rounds to keep the enemy pinned down. The pilot, callsign Alpha, was successfully pulled out by a rescue helicopter under heavy small arms fire. But the sheer volume of anti-aircraft resistance made one thing clear. Retrieving the second crew member required a completely different approach. The second crew member, Dude 44 Bravo, was severely injured. Bleeding heavily from his legs, the weapons systems officer hiked away from his landing site to avoid capture. He was navigating the Zagros Mountains. This sprawling, jagged expanse of ridges and deep rock crevices offers endless places for an evader to disappear. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps flooded the region with patrols, while Iranian state media broadcast a $60,000 bounty for the Americans' capture. Up above, U.S. MQ-9 Reaper drones scanned the mountains. But standard thermal imaging and optical cameras cannot see through the solid rock walls of the deep fissures where Bravo had taken cover. Bravo's survival training worked flawlessly. He had vanished from Iranian patrols, but in doing so, he made himself completely invisible to his own rescue forces. Facing a complete intelligence blackout, the CIA authorized a desperate measure, the first field deployment of a classified intelligence tool built by Lockheed Martin's Sknunkworks division. The code name for the system is Ghost Murmur. Instead of searching for heat signatures or radio waves, it relies on long-range quantum magnetometry, a method of detecting incredibly weak magnetic fields. This model shows how the sensors operate. At their core are synthetic diamonds containing microscopic atomic flaws called nitrogen vacancy centers. When scientists hit these flaws with lasers and microwaves, the diamond becomes hypersensitive to magnetic disturbances. Every time a human heart beats, it generates a faint electromagnetic pulse, about a billionth the strength of the Earth's magnetic field. Ghost Murmur is specifically calibrated to detect that exact biological rhythm. Using this tool in an active war zone presented a massive obstacle. The Iranian desert is saturated with magnetic interference from natural geological formations and active military radar arrays. To solve this, the hardware is paired with an artificial intelligence layer. As we see here, the software filters out the high-amplitude static of the battlefield, isolating the distinct low-frequency pattern of a human heart. The system just needed a window of clear signal. After roughly 36 hours on the run, Bravo briefly emerged from his rock crevice to trigger a short-burst emergency locator beacon. That brief movement provided the opening. Ghost Murmur successfully locked onto his cardiac signature through solid stone from 40 miles away, feeding exact extraction coordinates back to the Pentagon. Once the CIA locked in those coordinates, the U.S. military responded with overwhelming force, launching a 155 aircraft armada into Iranian airspace. To prevent Iranian ground units from converging on Bravo, the armada executed a massive misdirection, simulating loud, aggressive rescue operations at 7 distinct decoy locations across the province. While the Iranian military scrambled to counter the decoys, a specialized elite extraction team descended directly into the Zagros Mountains, right onto Bravo's exact coordinates. Sustaining an operation this deep in hostile territory required constant mid-air refueling and logistical support from heavily modified MC-130J transport planes. The deception held long enough for the extraction team to complete their work. Against terrible odds, both Dude 44 crew members were pulled out of Iran and brought home alive. Following the extraction, CIA Director John Ratcliffe addressed the press. The tactical victory was clear, but the intelligence community recognized a much larger shift in how special operations will function moving forward. For decades, surviving behind enemy lines meant managing your physical footprint. Evaders relied on space blankets to block thermal cameras, maintained strict radio silence, and utilized visual camouflage to blend into the terrain. Ghost Murmur has stripped away the final layer of battlefield protection. It has proven that as long as an operative's heart is beating, they can no longer remain hidden.